Greetings, ladies and gentlemen down there in the chat. I see you, Dabbling Warlock, Mr. Dune Trader, Timothy, Ramblings and Discussions Imholt, the good doctor himself. Hello, hello. Oh, look, never fear, for the modwife is here. I nearly... someone moved the chat, and I lost it. There we go. Never fear, for the modwife is indeed here. Thank you all for joining us this evening for episode 2 of Tittle. Yes, that was intentional. Please do give the stream a like, give it a share, bring in a friend, and we'll have a nice, good time. If there's any audio issues, let me know, and we will sort those post-haste. But of course, it's not much of a panel discussion with just me, so let's quickly bring in my my Welsh friend here, who just happens to be a dragon. Hello, Brass Dragon.
Your segues are too smooth, mate. You almost caught me mid-sneeze.
I warned you that it would be you first.
I know, all right, but I thought I had another 10
had
seconds.
plenty of warning. And the sneeze of a brass dragon, I can imagine, is something to behold. Fiery, you know?
No, it isn't. You don't want to behold it at all.
Is it more like... what was that? I think it was a sequel to... You ever see that film Dragonheart? Where it's a film that I've seen. And there's it's a King Arthur thing. His heart is replaced with a dragon's heart, and then he goes evil.
Yeah.
But there's a sequel where there's another dragon being taught how to breathe ice. I think it's a sequel to it.
Oh, I don't know anything about that one, mate. Come on.
This film might not even exist. I might be just imagining this thing's existence. Oh, the cat has started scratching things. I will throw a slipper at you. Hello?
You're thinking about Dragon's Dogma 2, mate. That's what it is.
Maybe. I might be. Right, so we have a bit of a special episode today, but before we get to those two, we do have sort of a sleeper agent in our midst, which we've dragged out of the realm of politics for a little while, just to let him have a break, let him have some escapism, which is what we're all about here. It's Wick TV. Hi, Wick.
Hi. Howdy.
Howdy indeed. How
Hello.
do?
Nice to meet you. Oh, today's going fine, right? You messaged me, thought I'd jump on and hang out with you guys and see how it goes, right?
Yeah, we'll do some nerd shit for a bit.
Hell yeah.
Some fun nerd stuff. Wait, are we 2 minutes in? Can I swear? 9 minutes in, I'm allowed to swear. Right. So there are two chaps that reached out to me that I thought I would bring on today. And they are the Brothers of Bad Toad Games. Now they are launching soon a Kickstarter for their game Mercs, Mages and Monsters. So I'll be honest, I don't know too much about it other than the book and the art look exquisite. And so I thought, what better way to sort of kick off the stream than to introduce Ty and Jeremy, the Brothers Bad Toad.
Hi, how you doing?
Howdy. Doing well. More howdies. I'm surrounded by We're surrounded by Americans, I should say. Grace.
It's a safe place to be, surrounded by Americans.
Oh, Celeste's in chat. The ultra-American TTRPG is in chat. Hello, guys. We're getting a bit of a slower start today. The cat has arrived. Now, so guys, who be you? Tell.
Well, I'm Ty. I'm the younger brother of the Brothers of Bad Toad. And that quiet guy is Jeremy, the older brother of the Brothers of Bad Toad.
I thought you were going to expand on those thoughts. You just, left me there.
He kind of froze for a moment there. Yeah,
I was looking, waiting. So Jeremy, older brother, co-owner, Bad Toad Games. We're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, there was a chap that I was speaking to last week about the artwork in your book. He's something of an artist himself. In fact, he is one of the artists for the Dungeons and the Dragons back in the day. And he is just popped in. It's Richard Witters.
Hello.
Hi.
We've got a bit of a full panel. I actually had to turn people away from the panel today. Last week I got hold of Max and the Brass Dragon. I was like, guys, no one's showing up. I need help. And now they're all showing up, and I don't have room for. It's Winston, who is the true star of today's panel. Hello,
me
Samuel.
notes.
Full Metal Dragon. Hello. I've got to say, Rick, what's happened?
I shaved it off.
You
Yeah.
said you were going to, but I thought it was a jest. I didn't think you would do something so rash.
No, it was getting in the way. It was.
Oh, he's ruined it. He's ruined.
He's ruined.
Doesn't look like Santa Claus anymore.
It's like Samson shape.
Oh.
Lose your
Yes, that is a reference I can. Samson's a good reference.
Now I can't draw.
Now he can't draw. He's got to wait for it to grow back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, chat is starting to fill up. Hello, everybody. Please do go ahead and share the stream about. It's really, really helpful. I'm a very, very small fish in a massive bloody pond. In fact, chaps, I'm going to put in the private chat here on the right the link to the stream. If you want to send that to big people you know, it would be very handy. Should we look at some pretty pictures?
Right, we love pretty pictures.
Okay, and by that I mean we're not going to go through my For You page on Twitter because it is nothing but breasted elves and the like.
That would be terrible. Oh no.
Oh dear.
The horror.
That sounds disgusting. Where is it? Right.
Kairi's here. Hello, Kairi. Teddy Rex is hello. Yes, give me all the filthy likes. Oh, it's Theodore. Right. We are going to have a quick look, and Richard, I promised you last week that the art and the style of the book that these boys have made is, as I say, exquisite. And so I figure you would like to have a look. Mr. Butler, welcome to the stream. Let me figure out how StreamYard works, and I will put it on the screen. You see, despite the fact that I'm a millennial, I've grown up with technology. Technology has now started to move to a point where I can no longer keep up.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah,
I don't part of growing up, right?
Yeah.
Right. This is Mercs, Mages, and Monsters. The core rulebook thing here.
Oh, look at that.
How's that looking?
Nice.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah. So I before we start scrolling down, what's the pitch, lads? What are you hoping to achieve with this game that, say, another TTRPG hasn't done yet?
Hasn't done yet. I don't know. Our goal when we, started doing this was just getting people back to the table, making it easy to understand. You have that tagline, oh, everyone can do it. Like, that's what we were aiming for. We taught our 72-year-old father how to do it.
Yep.
If he can do it, I'm sure everyone else can.
I don't know. I've got a very scatterbrained table. Are you saying this is an easy-to-learn game?
Oh yeah, 100%. We taught him the first version of it, which was
It was a
bag of
monster.
cat. Yeah, and he learned it in about 15 minutes, and he was running around threatening storekeepers and everybody else in no time.
So your 70-year-old father is something of a murder hobo, is he?
Yes.
Yeah, he definitely leans murder hobo. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now, just looking at the pretty picture, because you've got several consumers in the room here, you can actually see Wick's Warhammer in the background there, the bloody...
Oh yeah, I have a lot of purchasing power. Okay, so you better sell me on this. I'll decide whether I want to purchase this based on your answers. So
No
answer,
pressure. No
You
pressure.
see-
wisely. Okay.
You walk into a bookshop or a game shop, you see this cover, is your eye caught?
Yeah, I definitely look at the back, right? So if I was walking into Barnes and Noble or something and I saw this on the game section or whatever, I was like, oh, what's this? And I'd go and I'd turn it back and I'd see what it was, right? So yeah, definitely eye-catching, definitely something I'd check out.
So there you go. You've spoken to the core audience, at least a little bit. Brass Dragon, does it catch thine eye?
I do like this artwork. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the artwork that Jack tries to show me from I'm gonna upset some people here from old school D&D. I don't like it. I think it's shit. But this I like.
Oh man, I may be getting some of the original OG artists of the Monster Manual, the first edition Monster Manual on, so please don't say that to them.
Well, I've said it now before they've come on, so we're fine.
Indeed. Right. let's scroll down. Well, before
Yeah,
I
that
do,
piece. I was going to say that piece there. That's the cover for the soft cover.
Soft cover.
Yeah, and then the artist Hans Radek. I think he has a comic book, web comic series too. I don't have the link or anything for that, but you can look him up. It's like at Radek or something on Twitter. But he has some really nice stuff.
I do like the style a lot. It sort of reminds me of you ever go amazing another film that I've seen. This is incredible. The Sword in the Stone, Disney's Sword in the Stone.
Yep.
It kind of reminds me of that, especially with the guy.
Yeah,
there.
it does a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. The Elven Maiden. It has made her
Maybe
way
a
into
little
the chat.
Black Cauldron feel to it too.
That is another film that I have in fact seen. We're getting more films that I've seen. Someone needs to keep a list. Now, Emmy, if you need to rest, my dear, you rest. You don't need to worry about us. You just need to share the link to your thousands of followers. Richard, you are the Demogorgon artist from, was it third edition or 3.5 that you did?
No, fifth.
Demogorgon. It was actually fifth. Okay.
Yeah.
Doi,
I
does this
did
art
all
speak
the
to
Demon
you?
Lords in fifth. Yeah. I was gonna go on a little like micro, not rant, but observation.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, there was the years I spent like on Magic and then on D&D, and I noticed the artist pool that we used zeroed in to a particular like style. You know what I mean? Slowly over the years. And then fifth edition dialed into a particular style, and it's very like fully painted, kind of fantastical realism, and that's where you get that kind of vibe. I think a lot of people say where fifth edition feels like superhero D&D kind of thing. So and then I see a lot of people making products, especially ones that support fifth edition, and they have that look, and they're probably pulling from the same pool of artists. And to me, when I see this, which I really like, it's like something different. It's like it's got its own personality, and to throw it out a little different. DC Comics used to keep sort of a tighter rein on their artists in terms of like look and style and stuff, whereas Marvel Comics had all these artists that just had crazy different styles, right? And that's that's where you got like the all the different Todd McFarlane's and the guy who did the Max and just like all these crazy styles. So this to me I think is awesome because it tells you it gives me a feel for it. That's not just another
Just
one
Ty's
that looks.
face light up when you say that. He's like, that's what I'm here for.
That's high praise.
No, I just think it's cool. You've got your own personality to it. I think that's awesome.
I like the lighting on it, right? It's very bright in the background, but in the foreground it's shadows and it plays with that, and that's interesting to me.
No.
I do enjoy the composition, shall we say, that is here. A couple of adventurers. My grandest champion has entered the chat. Hello, sir. Right. Let's scroll down a little bit. Lovely, nice little logo there. Mercs, Mages, and Monsters. I'm a fan of alliteration, i.e. the Lost Lore Library being my brand here, so I can approve of this. Lovely font choice, very legible, like parchment as well. Yogath is an expensive kingdom. Great. An expansive kingdom with a long and storied history, blah, blah, blah. So you got yourself a little bit of lore. I do enjoy, but we shall quickly run our Nat 3s, Nat 24s. So you're doing some different stuff. But I wanted to get to this.
Oh, that's a nice map.
Well, before we go any further, I'm just going to quickly... The mod wife is in the chat. I'm just going to quickly bring her in and say, my love, when it comes to I'm just going to have to quickly kick one of you out. Sorry, Brass Dragon.
Wow, just playing him. Okay.
My dear, if you go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello.
How much do I like maps?
You probably need alone time tonight.
That's enough from you. Off you go. Goodbye. I'll get the dragon back in.
Yeah, I think you need some alone time, mate, tonight.
Right, you're leaving. Goodbye. No, so yes, as Aaron Lind has just pointed out, I'm never getting monetized because of this map. This is pornography. No, gents, is this done by the same gentleman that did the?
No,
the
this
cover?
is Feed the Multiverse.
This is really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
she
beautiful.
did a brilliant job on it.
she did a phenomenal job. She's actually, not to give too much away, she's working on another map for us right now.
Ooh.
Can I
for
can I ask a question? This is kind of a general question to all of you because I'm very curious. Maps interest me as well, and I'm always curious to see like what role in a settings book or in a campaign book or in a rule book even do you guys think that maps serve? Like what purpose? What if you put the map in there, right? What do you want the consumer's eyes to be drawn to? How do you feel like this sells your setting? Is my question. Does that make sense?
It
Yeah.
does.
You want to take that, or you want me to get it?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to have two different views on it, this is why we kind of work well together. Because for me, I don't have nearly as much TTRPG experience as Jeremy does. I'm a very much more video game player. But for me, when we were putting the map into this, with our random generation tables and stuff that we use for people to create their contracts, the map is the ability for a person to be like, okay, this is where I want my story to begin. And with it being so highly detailed, it gives them that opportunity to be like, zooming in or, looking at it in the book and being like, this area just looks fantastic. This is where I want my story to start, and kind of take it from there. Even with the random generation tables.
I noticed on that, like one of the things is, and this is the first time I'm seeing any of this. So you're getting the my kind of virgin take here, my first blush, if you will. The washed out colors, right? Was this an intentional decision? Like, are you looking to show kind of like, because the forests and the trees, they're all kind of this brownish white. Was that a purposeful decision? Was that like an artistic decision to kind of sell the nature of your world, or what? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a purposeful decision when we were talking to the artist. Like the map before this, if you go way back into our tweets in the very beginning, there's one of the original poster things we did was the prequel to this map that I did using I forget the name of the map software, so sorry, creator of that. But
damn.
I use yeah. But
Wonderdraft.
Yeah, Wonderdraft.
That's what I use. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when we did that, we wanted to lay out the world and everything, and we're like, okay, this looks really good. And then when we handed it off to Feed the Multiverse, she was like happy to work on it and had a bunch of questions like, how do we want the detail washed out, everything, like what kind of look are we going for? And in the end, like she took like the detail, gave her, and just did a really good job. Oh, yeah. And it brought this back, and we're like, yeah, no, that's it. That's what we want right there.
What do you think it says about the world?
Oh yeah, it says that the world is old but organized and dangerous. Like you can look off in some of the namings in some of these areas. You can draw connections between the different towns or cities. Yeah. We try to make the cities themselves stand out. In the book, it kind of explains them a little more. So
and the way she did it too, it really works out too. Because if you look, the rest of the world is faded, like you pointed out, even the forests and stuff. But around where those cities are, you have these bright points where it's a little bit lighter and stuff like that. But our world our world is Grimlight is what we call it, and this definitely supports how we look at the world we made.
What's Grimlight?
For us, it's dark, but there's that potential for hope. So. Okay. That's
modern 40K.
Yeah,
modern 40K. Okay.
Yeah. Gritty but not grimdark.
Right.
Yeah, it's not grimdark. Like you are gonna have there is hope, but it's not coming from like your D&D adventuring party heroes.
Yep.
You're playing mercenaries and mercs. I mean, these guys are like, yeah, we can handle that problem for you for the right amount of coin. And it's like, well, how does that weigh on your conscience? I don't know. It depends on how big your coin purse is. So it's like.
So here's a question for me from me then. Now, I enjoy playing the hero because I am rather dashing. Don't laugh at that. If I want to play the hero role, so what you're saying is the good mercenary, the kind-hearted mercenary, is likely going to have a lighter coin purse.
Not necessarily.
But you can definitely play that route. I mean, you would be odds out kind of a mercenary. Like I want to do it for the good of the people and stuff like that. And you probably get more contracts. You might not get some seedier contracts, and other mercenaries might try to kill you because you keep getting in the way of their devious plans. But actions and consequences and all of that.
Indeed. Mr. Witters.
On the map.
On the map. Have you dabbled in cartography yourself?
Absolutely. I've done a bunch of stuff. I like it, like I said, because it keeps with that vibe, like you have on the cover. The world doesn't feel, bright colored and all that. It has a really good feel to it. I like myself the thing you said too about what you're saying, like Grimlight or this or that. That reminds me of that sort of Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser range, right? Where it's like, because I have never, and I've told people this several times, I've never read any books that felt more D&D than the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser books.
I need to read those.
Oh, they're so good.
That keeps coming up. And when it was first described to me, I went, "You mean Godric and Felix?" And it keeps being the name keeps coming up. It came up on Nerd Cognito. It came up last week on this stream. It's come up again. I think I need to get into those books.
Yeah, grab the audiobooks, whatever. They're great. They're fun, and they're just crazy. To me, like I said, they remind me of they're the stories that most remind me of D&D. But anyway, for maps in general too, I had a thing a while back. I did a little map. It was a few years ago, and it was just a very simple map, but it was like of a tavern. Your classic, like we have the tavern, we have the rooms upstairs. But I added a bunch of these little footnotes. Where they're like, oh, there's a well out back. And it's like, some people see a ghost out here of an old man, blah, 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 holding a lantern, right? And I just put all these little notes around. And what I realized when I threw that map down at the players, they just grabbed it and they all started going, oh, what about here? What about, ooh, maybe I should go there. Maybe we can go gamble over here. And while they were doing that, I had time to kind of prep, like what was coming up. So that to me is part of the use of a map too. If you're really talking like, there's the obvious use, which is you look at it and go, oh, it's a whole world I can explore. But in a game too, when you throw it down and you're like, oh, we're gonna go here, and the players, it kind of takes them up for a minute, and you can have a minute to like get stuff ready.
That's good. So we'll jump to Brass Dragon, because when he first saw this map, he went, ooh, that's a nice map. So,
it looks nice at first glance because it's you got the roads, you got the trees, the mountains. It looks nice. It's aesthetically appealing. Also, for a map for a game, it's great because the points of interest are very clearly marked. Even on Jack's shitty quality stream, so I could barely read them. I'm very sorry, but I can. But the cities are glowing. This is nice. You got the clearly defined paths. I like it. It just looks nice. I'm not a professional map designer. I'm not an artist. I can't give you any more in-depth analysis than that. It just looks good.
That's fine. But that's not technically a bad thing, because, as I say, you're not part of the industry in the same way that Richard may be. You're sort of with Wick and I over here on the consumer side of thing, and we go, "Ooh, that's really pretty. I'm going to put some money on that
And
right bloody
it
now."
reminds me of Middle Earth.
I was going to say it reminds me of Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah.
It does, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
It's funny because we had sort of a stream on that yesterday or the day before with Tim on Tim Imholt's channel. But what you were saying, where it's like, I'm not an artist or a professional or whatever, but this is my reaction. And then you go back to people who make stuff like I did for years. It's more important to me what everyone's reaction is than it is like, I don't have a high and mighty thing to it. It's more like, if I make these things, like, how are people reacting to these things? What's going to fit this? What's going to get people excited? So yeah, in a way, your opinion is more important, because I want to see if everybody likes the taste of chocolate cake, I'm going to bake some up.
Thank you very much.
You heard it here first, folks. We're more important than the artist.
True.
I'm a commercial artist, so I'm a mercenary. I like that.
Oh, there you go. Now you can go and get yourself a mage buddy and fight some monsters.
Perfect. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll continue on down a tad. I don't want to spoil mechanics and that too much, but just the way the book is laid out looks really nice. Like the little coin purses on the numbers here. The tables are lovely. It's just really nice. Combat systems. Jeez, I don't want to give too much away because, as I say, you're going to be selling this. I just want to get to the next bit of art because this I like a lot.
Can we ask mechanics questions though? Because I just have a couple general.
Yeah,
we will. We will.
Go for it.
Tell you what, we'll bring ourselves back to the main screen here, and we will talk some mechanics, and then you guys can tell us where you're going from here in terms of what's next for Mercs, Mages, and Monsters. Mages, Mercs, and Monsters.
Yeah.
Monsters, Mercs, and Mages.
It's the two questions I have for anyone who designs a game or puts a kind of a system together in order to play, whether it be TTRPG or in others. Like there's two, so give me a moment. One, what problem does your rule set seek to solve? Right? What about playing a fantasy game or a TTRPG does your rule set seek to make the focus and make more interesting? That's the first one. And two, how does your mechanics reinforce the theme that you're going for in your game? So you said you wanted a Grimlight theme. What about the mechanics reinforces that to the players?
Good questions.
Very good questions. Do you want to take it or you want me to?
I can take the first one. You can take the second one if you want.
Works.
Okay. All right. So your first one was, what problem does it solve? That's what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. I wouldn't point to any particular problem. Some systems, like the Warhammer Fantasy system, is very crunchy is a good word, but it hones in on like the damage to different body parts, everything's like that. And then you have D&D, which the later systems, it's more about some would say more about the role play and everything, your character not dying, depending on who your GM is and everything. Ours, we tried to strike a balance in the middle where there is that potential for adventuring and doing that, or fulfilling contracts, so you get that role play. But the the like mechanics of it or whatever we were trying to solve, how can we have this be fun but not super crunchy and also easy to understand? So kind of swinging in between of them, because all the systems I went through before this, I wouldn't
didn't
say
have the right balance to you, right? It just didn't feel
like I liked 3.5 when for D&D when I started, because that's what I started on, but I didn't play it a ton. What I really got into was Dark Heresy 2nd edition for Warhammer, and that is a crunchy system, but because it was a system I spent a lot of time in, it made sense to me. unless you tried to find something really particular in any of the books or the expansion books because it was horribly organized.
Yeah.
But so we tried to solve that. We tried to solve that in this book too. Just everything needs to be on like a page or two.
Sure. So if I'm playing, right, if I'm slinging rules, I'm getting my table together, and we want to try this. You wanted it so when I opened the book, I could easily find out rules that could be used to direct the adventure. And you felt that most other systems that you played when you were playing it just didn't have the right balance between meaningful choice and ease of learning and knowledge. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man.
So that's what we were trying to do. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Gotcha. And then your second question there, how does it support our kind of Grimlight world?
Yes.
So we use other systems use abilities or stuff like that your characters have. For us, we have knacks and we have talents, right?
Knacks and talents. What are those?
So
just give me the TLDR. Sorry, I just
so a talent, everybody has an innate talent, right? You're talented in certain things. You have a talent. I have a talent for I don't know, crocheting, I guess, or my wife has a talent for crocheting. Okay. And then
you don't look like the type.
No, yeah, right. My fingers are too big. I can't do it.
Jack is a charming hero.
Yeah, right. And then our knacks. Our knacks are like smaller things that you pick up. You have a knack for this. You kind of learn these things along the way. So we're skill based instead of level based, and you kind of pick these things up as you go.
Interesting.
And then our spells, which for us, our magic system is definitely what keeps it kind of dark, because for us, our magic system is volatile. You can be a mage if you want to, but you're a risk to yourself and your entire party.
Much like Warhammer, there's a chance you'll go pop.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's a risk for that, but in some of the knacks and the talents and the spells that we created, we kept it light too, where there's some humor in there. Perfect example is that art piece you showed, where it shows a guy wrapped up in vines, and the mage, if you look at it, he's actually casting a spell called Iron Pan, where he pulls a cast iron pan from somewhere in the world, contents included, and throws it at the enemy. So that's
random bullshit go.
Exactly. And you can pick it up afterwards, and it becomes a melee weapon where you have a cast iron pan as your weapon.
And someone's missing their dinner.
Exactly.
Yeah. Only one cast iron pan can be in the vicinity at a time, though. Like you do it again, it disappears, another one pops up. So
exactly.
So how many mages know this spell? Is this quite a low level spell?
It's what we call a basic spell. So it's easy to learn.
I only ask because that seems to me like there is going to be an epidemic of people with cast iron pans full of food just gone.
Man, if I was a cook, I'd be using like other utensils.
Other materials. Don't.
It happens when I'm trying to cook up something, right? I'm making my breakfast, make my real eggs, yummy, delicious eggs, and then all of a sudden, pop! I'm like,
damn wizards!
Mages!
That's the fourth one this week. Sketchosaurus Rex is in the chat. Hello. Timothy Imholt says it's pandemonium.
Yeah.
Pandemonium.
Speaking of Mr. Timothy Imholt, he did have a question for you. How many pages are the rules for the game? Can we be up and running quickly, or is it a learning curve?
So it's roughly, we're estimating it'll be from 100 to 120 pages. I think we're sitting at like 102 right now. Mm-hmm. We're getting some art and fleshing out some final details. But to learn it, I mean, I don't know, 30 minutes at most.
Yeah, maybe for the initial stuff, you can get into it 30 minutes. It kind of leads you in pretty quick on the stuff. Like some of the finer details where you got to remember, doubles do this, or this specific knack or talent does this, and getting used to it being a roll under. If you're not used to a roll under system, then there's going to be a little bit of that. But you should be able to get it up and running and playing in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I plan on teaching this to my 10-year-old to see if she can pick it up.
That's a good test.
Basic, so. Yeah,
that's a very good test. Any questions from? Look who's in chat, but not in the stream. It's Baby DM.
Skyrocket. Yeah.
Yep.
So, any questions about mechanics-wise from you guys, Brass Dragon, Richard Witters?
I have a thing to ask that I think kind of bookends the mechanics discussion, because I've had this thought a lot with things like there's a mechanical side, and when you describe it to people, it tends to be like can get some people, I think, that way. But then there's the sort of the real thing that sells your game. And me and a buddy used to do this when we made stuff for Magic a lot. We'd ask this question, which was, who is it for and why is it fun? And that's really the part where it's like, I'm not going to tell you that you get to roll 2 d20s and you get to do this, that, and that's mechanical stuff. And that's typically what people might find fun after they buy the game. But when you go, who's it for? Why is it fun? It's focused more on, how can I get you to pull this off the shelf and take it home because you need to see what it's like.
Yeah. I don't know who's it for. Like people that want like mid crunch, I guess, or just looking for they want, like we kind of touched on earlier, they want some grittiness to it. You know, kind of like when you drop your toast at a campfire when you're camping, but you pick it up, dust it off, and you're like, this is fine. It has an extra crunch. So for folks that like that, and then why is it fun? Just because I'm not sure. It's biased coming from one of the people that made it, but I like rolling like the multiple. Like I like rolling the systems, and I like rolling multiple dice and watching the clickety clack rocks go, and then looking. Going,
your target audience. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I was like, I got doubles, or something, and being able to take that and see this. It's not just, I beat whatever number I'm going for. Like something special could happen there, and I like being surprised, when something happens when I roll. Like, this is really good, or it's really bad, and then having that imagination kind of to roll forward with it.
Yep. That's totally cool. That reminds me of the biggest thing players used to look forward to way back when we played first edition was when you got the really big ass fireball and you just were a handful of d6s, and you were
what
like,
if it's the
rolling all
Death
these
Knight's
D6s?
fireball?
That's okay, because then we get to crumple character sheets and throw them across the room.
This game's stupid.
Yeah, like we have there's one we have fireball in there. Our version of fireball. There's what's that fun one we had with the dead body? What do we call that?
Meat shield.
Meat shield. Yeah.
No, that's, one of our spell schools. Instead of instead of summoning a shield, it's called meat shield. You just pick up the nearest, you kind of heft the nearest dead body or unconscious person and use them to block their shot coming at you.
What if
that's magic?
What if it's Jack's character?
I'm seeing a lot. I am seeing a lot of Warhammer influence here. That is that's a very Warhammer fantasy. But that sounds pretty fun. Look, my chat is filled up with puns now. Brass Dragon, have you got anything you want to ask these chaps about their game?
I mean, I'm not an experienced RPG player, so I don't know how much depth you can go into either with your questions, but I like combat. I like fighting things. Could you give
you hit
a very brief rundown of what happens in the game when I'm walking along the road and there's a goblin or whatever jumps out for you, combat's initiated, what happens?
Okay. You want me to get it?
Yeah, hit it.
Okay. So, say you had no idea the goblin was there. He popped out. You're surprised. The goblin's going first. He'll, fire whatever. If he has a bow, he's going to shoot at you. You're going to roll. Well, he's going to roll to see if he hits. If he would hit, he'd roll a 3d8s on precision, which is our combat mechanic. It's basically isolated into one, what we call traits. So precision, if he hits his precision, meaning he rolls under that, arrow's going to hit you. You would roll agility to see if you either dodge it, block, whatever, and then you just figure out the damage from there. And if you had a shield or everything, it would go from there, and you have your own armor that you would mitigate the damage and stuff with. And the armor's a little flexible. So say you had light armor on, you roll a 1d4, and so you could get either 4 protection or 1 protection on top of whatever your natural protection is. And so it makes it a little swingy, but it was set up that way to kind of infer if it's a good hit or not, depending on how you want to look at it. Like, oh, was the arrow like under the arm, whatever. So we didn't have to have a giant chart like they have in Dark Heresy, like 98 hits here, 15, leg, arm, head, chest. And so we wanted it just to kind of be a little more intuitive, like, oh, okay, well, that got here, and that could mean X, Y, Z. And then you just kind of figure out the damage from there if you're dead or not.
Okay.
It flows pretty smooth. Talking about it, it's always hard to describe something like that. But when you're doing it, I got to say, it actually flows, at least in my experience, and I don't have a lot of TTRPG experience, but it flows smoothly. We haven't had issues when we've done the playtest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
See, my question is going to be something similar to the Brass Dragons then, because he has brought back into the forefront of my mind a big problem I have with 5th edition personally, and that's bounded accuracy. I find the armor class in 5th edition is pretty much negligible. It doesn't matter at all, because once you get to a certain level, if you don't have 26 in AC, you are going to be hit regardless. So good luck. Is there a form of, say, dodging or weaving, or does a character get more adept at avoiding hits as they get stronger?
Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. So we have different armor classes. So if you're a tank rolling around in heavy armor, obviously you're going to be slower and you're going to get hit more. It has a negative effect on your agility. But as you get experience, you can increase your traits. Every so often you can increase them so you can make it so you have higher agility if you want. If that's your sole focus and you're like, nope, I'm dodging everything. And then we have a knack and a talent. We have dodge and we have parry, where, dodge, you're getting out of the way, and parry, you're blocking a blow that's coming at you so you can get that free strike coming back.
You see, that was how I designed my previous 5th edition character, was to be this sort of dodge, weave, fencer type character. Didn't matter. Did not matter how skilled I made that guy, how much I bumped his armor class up. I think I got him to 19 AC in total with magic items, etc., etc. He always got hit because monsters after a certain level have like a +8 or a +9 to hit. So it doesn't matter what AC you've got, unless you're a Bladesinger wizard, and then the DM can only hit me with a crit.
No, there's a tension, I think, in game designs, and I've seen different systems go different ways. We're talking about bounded accuracy, right? Of how to make the world a dangerous place, and for the players to feel that their character is under threat, but also help that their character the player feel that their character is progressing, getting stronger, able to do more, and that's at tension. And I'll be honest, a lot of systems fail at this. I don't know. I haven't read your guys' rules, but what do you think? Be honest with us, gang.
Yeah, we try to mitigate it. Like, you're never going to get it perfect, but we try to mitigate it with ours. You're not going to see people with 50, 60 health. That's not going to be a thing. I think the most health, when we were doing in the quick start campaign, it ended up being a joke. When we were rolling for the health of these quick start characters, the mages ended up with the most health. And I think it ended up being just ridiculously stupid. But but typically there's not going to be high health. Max health is like 17, 18, I think, is what some of these guys ended up with.
So it is pretty hefty, like, stakes then.
The risk of death is definitely there. We made it so while combat, it's absolutely there and you can get into it. Not every fight needs to be fought. You're more. You got to think about it. We have. It's a joke. As part of our
the members.
Part of our intro there at the beginning, the member's purpose. The first and most important purpose of the member is not to die. No, really. The whole process of bringing a member back to life is terribly difficult and incredibly dangerous.
Yep. I found like the mechanics, like different mechanics have different feels to me. You know what I mean? Like this feels like that, or this feels like that. And what you were describing, Jack, I think it was probably a 5th edition mechanic or something. And I remember reading, it was something like dodge or feint or something like that. And it was like, it gives you a +1 or 2 to armor class or whatever. And I'm just like, it doesn't feel right to me, right? Because if you're dodging, you want to roll a dice or something. But then if you took that mechanic and said, you get like a D6, or you build up several D6s where you can just reduce damage from a thing, and you feel like you're cutting it off. It's like, that sounds more like I dodged out of the way.
Yeah, there is a sense of that. Like the fighter I made was a battle master fighter, and he took the parry and he took the riposte. But I think the parry is if you were hit by an attack, you roll a d8 plus your fighter level, and you reduce the damage by that amount. I always rolled a 1. So it's like, I'm this really skillful, nimble guy, and it's just... So I would prefer something like you roll a d8 and you add an AC bonus, because that's what a College of Swords bard would do anyway. Chaps, we are approaching the hour mark. Would you like to tell people where they can get their hands on this book coming soon?
We actually, Saturday is the first day of our Kickstarter. So our Kickstarter goes live on Saturday. And for those first 48 hours, we're doing a $15 off, 30% discount on the hardcover.
Ooh. So I won't bring the hardcover up, but I am quickly going to bring your Twitter profile up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bad Toad Games over on X. Do go give the Bad Toad brothers a follow, as it's quite obvious they've put a lot of love and care and attention into this. The book itself looks exquisite, is the word I have chosen for it. I think everyone on the panel here agrees that it does look very pretty. I don't usually buy other RPGs. I probably will buy this one.
That's high praise. We appreciate it.
Yeah. To like us and all the artists and stuff that we've had working on it, that's a really big positive.
Yeah.
I have to draw those toads. I gotta draw those toads.
There you go. You've got Richard Witters drawing your toads out of this, if nothing else.
Because that little guy in the middle.
Yeah. There you go. Max is on the ball. He has dropped you into the chat. Everyone in chat, please. There are 20 of you. Go ahead and click that link. And if you're not following them already, do click follow and keep an eye out for the Kickstarter when it drops this Saturday. And while you're there, you can click like on the stream. Gentlemen, Ty, Jeremy, I thank you for joining us for the first hour of this stream. I kind of need to make way for more people. So I do apologize. I would love to have you back on in, say, like a month's time, just to see how things are going.
Yeah.
And maybe when I get my hands on this book, I will try my hand at running something for a stream, because people do keep asking me. And if it is as easy to learn as you say it is, then maybe I can pick something up quickly and throw a game together. Maybe I can drag Wick into a stream for it and the Brass Dragon, and I can see just how deadly these combats are and have fun murdering them over and over and over again.
Sounds good.
Oh, absolutely. We appreciate it. We're glad we could be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, chaps. But you may go now. Shoot.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I do have to go as well.
Yes, we are coming up to that. Wick, have a brilliant show. Guys, I'm not a politics channel. but Wick does politics. So go on over to Wick TV if you want to leave my safe little bubble of escapism.
You're a politics channel now, okay?
Ah, damn it.
Everything's
Please.
a politics channel at the end of the day. But no, so my channel, my show, I do a variety of things that are of interest to me. Sometimes I do politics, sometimes I do cultural stuff, sometimes I talk about gaming even, right? And Jack's been on a couple of those. It's not a safe space. You are going to get offended no matter who you are. It's just going to happen. Sorry. But yeah, it's fun. Check us out. Do 3 to 5 streams a week on various topics with various people, and it's always fun. Thank you all for being here. Or, well, thank you for having me. Sorry, I'm
You're getting into
My
the...
bad, right? Yeah. No, thanks for having me, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Have a good one,
See
man.
you again.
I will.
Oh, man, I keep
have
joking
to,
about hostile takeovers, and I just had a hostile takeover happen.
I have to bail out too.
It's all right. There are more people that want in. We're clearing things out.
Look how popular you are.
Yes, I know. But no, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing the stream around, Mr. Witters. Those were the chaps I really wanted you to speak to anyway, so it was good that you were here for the hour they were here for.
Yeah, drop me a message anytime. I'd love coming on. It's fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, Mr. Dragon.
Oh, it's always good to see you as well, Richard. My favourite guest.
All right. Well, you guys have a good night.
We will indeed, sir.
Out.
And then there were two. Well, there were three. Should we before we bring in some more people? Let's quickly bring in the wife, the mod wife herself. Hello, my love.
Hello.
I'm
she
going
is.
to mute up because I think we're going to echo a little bit. But you guys have been playing some World of Warcraft. Why don't you tell people how that's going? Just for a few seconds.
Yeah, how's it going, Hannah? Are we level 20 yet?
No, I died horribly, but I made a couple of friends and I was leveling a little bit before the stream, so it was good.
You made some friends.
Well, they sent me requests while we were doing the same quests, and I was like, all right, we'll do this for a while. And then
Fair enough. That's what it's all about. It's an MMO.
It was fun. It was very good.
And we could be level 20 right now, but Jack's interrupted us with the stream.
Well, he wouldn't be level 20, so who knows?
Yeah, he's still level 17. Come on.
Maybe we'll have to like somehow get him views out of it so he'll join us.
But it has been nice showing someone who's completely brand new to the game around. Because it's a fresh perspective. It's a fresh perspective. It's nice. You've seen the boat sail by in wetlands and you're like, oh, look at the pretty boat. And that's just background noise to me. I don't notice those things anymore.
So I do see people here saying, "Got to hit up the dead mines." I am gonna pop you back down, my love, because the echo.
Okay.
So yes, you've stolen my wife, is what I'm hearing.
Yes. Do a better job.
Yeah, I need to do a better job.
Skill issue.
We have some extra folks. Look who it is, fresh from work.
Hello.
Oh, there he is.
Scared everyone off.
Yeah, so we he's got the actual neckbeard going on there, hasn't he? He's, getting into character. What is it? But then again, didn't you make your most recent D&D character with like the most majestic neckbeard, Duther?
I wouldn't say majestic. It was
more
hideous. Neckbeard. Yeah, I was going for a lion's mane, but it's wasn't working.
Exactly like Richard.
Didn't work. He said, "You look exactly like Richard," says Modwife.
I take that as a compliment.
Teddy Rex says, "Oh Lord, the Gen Z himself."
Yeah, I bring the skibbity and the riz, and
please don't.
We'll get
The
into
Phantom
it.
Tax or whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah,
So-
you can't say that. That's my word.
You said to Richard Witters that he was your favorite guest, Brass Dragon, but there is another chap waiting in the wings, who I believe you are also quite the fan of. It is the Dr. Mr. Timothy Sir Imholt.
It's my second favourite guest.
I can't compete with the Canadians. They're just too nice.
How have you been, my friend?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good. It's been a good stream so far. A steady chat. Obviously, not as active as the first. It is to be expected. Now is the time where the romance that had flared becomes the soft, warm glow of continued love.
What?
I stole that from a Hannah Montana episode that my sister was watching when we were like 8 or 9 years old.
And you've never forgotten it.
I've never forgot. It's one of those things that takes up space in my head.
Being since we have Gen Z and millennials, I will say as a representative of Gen X, I missed that whole thing. But I do have 2 sisters, so I had to watch Dirty Dancing on repeat every summer during middle school. Like
that was my mother loved that film. Right. So we may be getting an extra person in soon-ish. But let's go and let's get back to talking some TTRPG, because there was an event. There was an event that happened, and now that Max is here, we can discuss this story in some detail. Max, last week you introduced everyone to the not at all evil, definitely trustworthy forest gnome, Slizglag Opulent.
Yep.
Where is he now?
He's like a bit more constrained, maybe not being able to move freely, but he's still alive. He's doing well.
He is very dead.
Alive is very, subjective, but consciousness is somewhere.
Indeed. So, look, chaps and chapettes, Max has had a spate of characters that have died quite hideously in a very short amount of time. Timothy, the first one, I think, did you know the paladin story where my fighter killed his paladin? Were you around for that story?
My first character.
No, but if you're gonna have a paladin, you're just asking for it at some level. I mean,
there you go. So you heard it here first. Paladin's not Timothy's favorite class.
They are my favorite class. Now he's my third favorite guest now.
I dropped down a level. Now there's a point to that. Okay, so occasionally when you have something like a paladin or a lawful good cleric or something, you have these ambiguously weird situations that sort of morally pure people can't necessarily work their way out of. That you just need a good fireball to solve. And they're like, no, don't roast the good people. It's like, that's okay. They're standing next to the bad people. Fireball, right?
Guilt by association, yes.
Yeah, you're just standing, you're standing close to the bad guy. You're going to get fireball. And sometimes paladins have problems with that, so...
So there's an interesting story that you've reminded me that my priest told me once. And that was during some crusades in the south of France against Cathar heretics. There was one crusading knight that said they were going to attack this Cathar city, and they said, how do we know whom to kill and whom not to kill, who's innocent and who's not? And I think a bishop, or it might have actually been the Pope, turned around and said, kill them all, God will know his own. So you could just go for that kind of paladin.
Oh, and people say religion's evil. It just doesn't make sense.
I'm not saying religion is evil. I will tell you that I've written 7 fiction novels in my life, and one of them was about a Catholic priest who was a serial killer. Outside of that, I'm just going to leave it alone.
I mean, I feel like those are unrelated, You can be one without the other. You just put the robe on and you...
Bringing it back, because I feel like I'm straying too close to religion and politics just by bringing up that one story.
It's a paladin. I mean,
so
it goes hand in hand.
Slizglag was a chaotic evil.
He didn't choose to be born like this.
He was a little demon.
He was a little demon. I am going to quickly
Mind you, I want to
the
say,
text.
He never did anything wrong.
No, he did. You slipped up, and that's how this all happened.
I killed a cultist.
I saved your life earlier in the game, and then you fucked up, right? And that led to your demise.
So ask your question, Timothy. Ask your question.
Why chaotic evil? That's actually tough to play correctly because it's like you have to walk into a town and like not just be against people who are trying to obey the laws, be against them for no good reason.
He was pretending. He was pretending to be lawful good.
I was spying. The best way to put it. Yeah,
so they're playing.
This
campaign came about through the Tyranny of Dragons. We started playing Tyranny of Dragons. After the beginning, I said, you know what, this is dumb. And so we just veered off and we did my own thing. The Tea Fairy is offering me tea. Thank you, Tea Fairy. And so we veered off, and now it's all, right, you're now founding a dragon slaying order. We're going to go slay dragons. His cleric died in the attempt at slaying a dragon, and he came back with this forest gnome that looked very much like a goblin. Oh, hello, Elliot. And, you know, straight away the party was tying him to a tree and beating him black and blue because he looked like a goblin, even though he was just a really ugly forest gnome.
He was skulking around in the woodlands outside of our castle. He looked like some insurgent.
So they committed several war crimes upon him without even...
The ranger literally shouted out, "Hey guys, there's a goblin in the woods."
No question asked. I'm getting
look, there really is a goblin in the woods. Let's go get him.
They could have tied you to a tree, taken your armor and covered you in honey, and then gone over and shaken the bee's nest. They were a little bit.
They might as well. It would have been less of
just punched him a few times, to be honest. Hit him while he was down.
Yeah. So then for the next, because it's an experience point campaign. We're not doing milestone. And I made a load of little side quests to get Slizglag Opulent up to speed. So they spent a session and a half leveling Slizglag up, just doing some, like, killing ogres, killing some undead, clearing out a bandit camp, just, you know, clearing up the domain a little bit. There was a random encounter that I rolled for a dragon rider to attack them on the back of a young white dragon. Chris's character succeeded in undragoning the rider and started interrogating him. Dismounting. And started interrogating them. And Slizglag, realizing that the dragon rider was going to start telling secrets of the cult, wanders over in full view of the party and stabs the bastard. And the guy dies.
They noticed me, sadly.
Okay, Teddy, they're hives. I'm sorry. I messed that one.
My hand slipped. My bad, guys.
I mean, look, we're missing some context here, because earlier on this same session, we got ambushed in our camp by a load of cultists and their captain. We killed all the cultists. The captain was the only one left. He surrendered quite honourably, like an honourable knight. Put his weapons down. I surrender. Do what you will, sort of thing. So I was asking him, and my character was like, "Don't you realise that when you summon Tiamat, she's probably just going to eat you?" And he was all like, "No, that would never happen. No, not like." He's like, "Yeah, no, I've dealt with cults before. This always happens." But as this conversation was going on, we weren't really getting anything important out of this guy. My character was just giving him a lecture about being evil. Kai's character, Slizglag, comes along, three separate attempts, tries to stab the man, fails to beat his AC, so he's just sort of clinking off his armor, like dink, 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 and then the cultist goes, "Can I punch this man?" And like my character, she still doesn't trust Slizglag. Well, I mean, he's dead now, but she didn't trust Slizglag at this point. And this cultist, she was like, I'm a paladin. I'm not going to kill the man that surrendered to me. So she was like, "I tell you what, he's trying to kill you. You want to kill him. Trial by combat." Now, this cult captain, I don't know what stat block he used for him. I think it's the veteran or something like that.
It was the veteran.
Well, Max's character, Slizglag, was level 3. Were you level 3 at this point?
I think I was level 3.
Yeah. Right, so we all knew he was going to win. The veteran's going to destroy him. And fair play, Slizglag put up a fight. Then he got brought down. The cultist was about to kill him, and my character intervened and was like, "Okay, look, you beat him. I didn't say this was a fight to the death. It's just trial by combat. You win. You can leave. You've earned your freedom." Right? So I saved Slizglag. I saved him, being a good paladin, even though I'm chaotic. But I'm a good paladin.
So
later on,
Go on, Max.
I'll just quickly mention that went perfectly to plan. This guy got what he wanted there, and the guy got out of his life.
That's true. There we are. And
so
then
Davos, we'll be back.
Later on, obviously, as Jack said, White Dragon Rider. I cast the spell Command on the Dragon Rider to get him to jump off, which succeeded. So he fell off, broke his legs. We were interrogating him. Now, this guy, we were actually getting some information out of. He was saying, and I think I put a zone of truth on him, and I said, where is the nearest cult hideout? And he said, Waterdeep. And my character's like, I have friends and loved ones in Waterdeep. Let's get some more information out of him. And then in comes Slizglag, slices his throat. So my character, being a paladin, level 7 at this point, he's a level 3 rogue. One-shots him, knocks him out, non-lethal damage, because you can do that. So we tie him to a tree, and then we bring out the relic that Jack has on screen.
So this is the Star Sapphire, Timothy. It's kind of a throwback to another campaign. If an evil creature lays hold of this, they take 10d10 plus 10 radiant damage. Slizglag was on 1 HP. He was mid-level up when Sorkara when Sorkara put the gem in his hands.
But we didn't know that he was evil to begin with because he resisted any attempts at divine sense and things like that. And
he had a ring of mind shielding.
He managed to succeed against it. So we were still, it was ambiguous. We knew he was a bit of a little shit, but we were like, is he just being a gnome or is he actually? And at this point, after he slit that prisoner's throat, my character was like, right, there's one way of knowing for sure if this man is evil. Because my character knew how the sapphire worked. And so when he woke up, I thought it was just you had to use the sapphire in order to blow up. But no, it was just lay hold of it. So my character put it in his hands. So here, hold this a minute. And then he just dies.
67 points of radiant damage later.
And I was like, well, I guess that means he was evil.
2 sessions!
We figured it out.
I was like, one of these people might help me.
2 sessions. You had this great idea for this little gnome guy that was going to infiltrate the party, earn their trust. Yeah, he looks like a bastard, but actually he's an alright guy. And then you were going to stab them in the back. 2 sessions you lasted in your undercover operation. You couldn't even make it 2 bloody sessions before they killed you.
I should have killed the guy.
You overstepped.
That's what I mean. That was your slip up.
The dice giveth and the dice taketh away. That's just the way it works.
But the fact that this is his 3rd death on the trot in very short succession across multiple games is amazing.
I've lost 2 characters to other players and only 1 to
and both of them were your fault.
So let's recap. You've been playing for what? A year and a half, approaching 2 years, Max?
Yeah.
You made a character, a paladin in the Brass Dragons game. He died to my fighter. You made a... what did you make for that birthday one for Brass Dragons?
Yeah, the birthday one.
I made a fighter archer.
Okay, so you made a fighter archer, died to a black dragon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like an appetizer.
Yeah, very much so. I think
that was my first actual death, really, but it was like a bit of a one-off.
Yeah,
was it? Yeah, and
the archer died first, but Ellis, the first character did die, but the second character died first. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the 3rd character was Raiden the cleric of Lathander. Died to a black dragon and a black pudding.
Yeah, it was rough.
Your 4th character you've ever made died to Chris.
Meanwhile, I am on 0 character deaths.
How have you done this, man? And people say it's difficult to die in 5th edition.
I'm going for number 5.
It's like, if you're careful, you can stay alive through anything. But what's the fun of being careful?
It's like,
I know exactly. I killed a
true.
cultist, and I'm the bad guy. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
Timothy, there's being careful, and then there's being a masochist.
Yeah, but you got to remember as well, like when his cleric was dying to the Black Pudding and the Black Dragon, so the Black Pudding was eating away his armor. This whole time, right, he was there already in Hero Forge making his new character, while going, "Oh yes, destroy my shield, yes, destroy more of my armor." This is so funny.
I wasn't making my character there, but I was like, it was pretty
I think he
low
likes
chance that I
losing
was
there.
living. Let's be fair, because I was stuck in place and I got dragon breath all over me, you know, and it's stinky.
Just play a barbarian next time. I think it would suit you.
No, I have learned that I'm very evil inclined as I've played more D&D.
I think Barbarian is a class that doesn't get enough love. I think there should be more people playing Barbarians, but that's just me.
I was literally just messaging this gentleman to see if he was going to turn up. So, Timothy, I can't help but notice you say Chief Wizarding Officer in your byline there.
That's actually a joke at work. I have a PhD in physics. The PhD is not fake; it's real. I used to be a professor at a university and a research professor. I was never tenure track, but
I only ask because you lack beard.
I actually just trimmed it a little bit. After talking to Richard the other day.
I'm segueing. We'll get back to your little.
No, the
your
chief
talk
wizarding
here.
officer thing was I made a joke at work because I am the chief technology officer of the company I founded. Which when you work in the venture space, not wanting to be CEO makes all the people look at you. They're really funny. They're like, "You want to be the CTO?" I'm like, "I'm a physicist. I don't know nothing about executive, nothing. Right? I want to be the CTO." And I made this joke after about 3 glasses of wine one night when they came to me with this problem that some other company wanted to solve. I was like, Can't you bring me like an easy one for once? You want me to like wave a magic wand and fix shit and make it work perfectly? So somebody said, yeah, well, we should change your title to Chief Wizarding Officer. So as a joke, I changed it on LinkedIn, and like 70 people messaged me, thought it was great, and everybody's like, yeah, let's just leave it that way. So somebody actually filed official paperwork at the company to change my actual title to Chief Wizarding Officer, so it kind of stuck.
Okay, that is cool. I'm glad I let you finish that story. But he's just stepping away. I can see him walking over there. Okay, he's coming back. He's on his way. Here he comes. Man, this is a scuffed intro. Here he is. Behold, Cerulean Rex.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's a beard. Yeah, we are.
That's a beard. That is a beard. We had Richard Witters on before you were here, Cerulean, and he shaved his.
Oh, Richard
and
shaved.
That's. I mean, he still looks very wizardly, but there's not.
Okay.
Not what you were able to bring to the table in terms of majestic
some
beard.
Serious beard game going. I gotta.
Yeah, it's a serious beard. You have to give it whatever it wants.
Was that part of the deal? Was there some sort of fae or devil involved?
If I do that,
Was
nobody
it-
gets hurt.
The top half went to the bottom. Like, what was the? Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Fucking hell, man! You've just met this man. You
That's how you
straight
make the
away
eye.
go.
So how is everybody?
I apologise for Baby DM's behaviour, sir.
You
He
messaged me
doesn't
this
mean,
time.
well, he probably
Say
does.
that.
No apology necessary.
Lies and slander, slander and lies. You could stop laughing. Don't encourage him. No, so we had the Bad Toad brothers on. They were chatting away about their new TTRPG project. We were then talking about the demise of the ever so innocent and definitely not at all chaotic evil forest gnome Slizglag Opulent. And every character Max has made in D&D has died horribly.
I like to say
Every
murder.
single one.
His druid's about to as well, just to let you know.
That's a nice claim to fame.
Oh boy! No, again, we were just saying it's difficult to die in 5th edition. Would you agree with that?
I would.
And yet this man has managed it 4 out of 4 times. There is. We need to delve deeper into this conversation. I can hear the oohs and ahs already, for it is.
Now that's funny. I gotta give you.
Bill Sylvie, the Dungeon Delver, Senpai himself, has arrived.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Afternoon, Bill.
Hello.
Hello.
Bill, I haven't
Diver
talked to you in
Dungeon
like
there.
3 hours, man.
Yeah, I know, Tim. How have you been? Oh my gosh, it's been forever.
Well, you guys stream an awful lot. I actually I did see you uploaded that video just before I went live, Bill. That I'm gonna need to go and watch after this.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, and I Tim was really the person who was the catalyst of that, because I don't want to give it away. I want you guys to go watch the video on my channel, but I tend to tune out of negativity on YouTube stuff, and Tim and I talked a lot about that and so on. So I missed a golden rage bait engagement opportunity on YouTube by not getting involved in what's happening to all the D&D streamers. Oh no, we're getting silenced. YouTube is turning their backs on us, and
Crisis.
yeah, crisis. And Tim talked to some people at YouTube, and then he talked to me, and because I mentioned a couple of times a YouTuber who basically, he said, well, I went and talked to YouTube, and they said they're not promoting D&D YouTube anymore, so I'm leaving. Goodbye. And
I think I saw that.
Yeah, and I mentioned it a couple times on the show, and I said, well, if what he says is right, that sucks. I'm not leaving. That's not a prelude to me leaving, but gosh, that really sucks, because I like D&D YouTube, and by which I mean I like creators like you and Tim and Harmony and Doomsword and all of us kids down here in this end of the pool. And it kind of stinks that it for smaller channels that it seems like the door would be getting shut on them after I got a little bit of popularity and other creators got a lot of popularity, but that's not the case at all. Go watch the video; it's all explained in there. So
I do find it interesting that's the take, because I no small part thanks to yourself, Bill, and to you.
Don't
as
blame
well,
this shit on me, Jack.
No, I've been growing steadily and surely. And
that was me. That was me.
Yeah, it's all you, man. That's all you.
That's me.
But no, it's like when you guys sort of put me out there a little bit, it helps a lot, because what I've found is I've been having some really interesting conversations, sort of bridging the generational gap, so to speak. So you got Max there, the arch zoomer of our stream. And then you got you guys, who would be sort of Gen X, I would say, all three of you, Gen X.
I'm pretty Gen
X. And so you're coming from different, not only generations, but different editions of Dungeons and Dragons. And one of the reasons that Brass Dragon and I were discussing this the other day while I was on my lunch break, one of the reasons Tim especially I like having on is because, unlike so many of the Gen X guys, Bill, sorry, you sort of look forward quite a bit more at the new stuff, and you sort of go, oh, I like this bit and that bit and this bit, or I'll take what I like, so to speak.
Well,
And
I have teenagers who are starting to play, and so they and their friends are not going to go off, and especially their friends are not going to go off and start to try to buy first edition or something. They're going to go buy the one that's at the local game shop and start
Indeed.
there, right? So,
but what I mean is it sort of takes this old school approach, this classic gaming approach, to steal a phrase from Ryan David, and it sort of takes it and it brings it into where Max is, and he has had 4 deaths in a new school game, which I think is a very old school thing to happen, and it kind of makes this little bridge where everyone can come together and go, actually, the soul of the hobby is still about. Any disagreement? Have I said something
you said earlier that the soul of the hobby was gone.
No, I was not.
Get rid of the rest of it.
What I said was that what I said to Mr. Kuntz, actually, it was a conversation with Mr. Kuntz, which was very intimidating because he is far smarter than I. I
Rob's
said that
smarter than most of us here, so
I'm actually
I-
trading direct messages with him right now.
oh, hey, say hi for us.
Yeah.
But no, I said, look, the concept of the thing is remains the same. Like, we're not rolling to hit armor class 0 in 5th edition, but we are still using it as a dice to determine the success of an action of a character or a monster, and the concept of that sort of causality through dice is still intact, but very much mutated. But the heart of the thing, for me, is sword and sorcery fantasy. I think that, you have to have that, let's go into the dungeon, let's fight the monster, let's rescue the princess, let's do the quest. Whereas the newer stuff of D&D is very much pushing the let's go to the prom,
Yeah.
let's do our schoolwork,
Yeah.
and let's and things like that.
To be fair, I'd rather rescue the dragon from the princess.
I bet you would, Brass Dragon.
I'm holding up my
I bet
X
you-
sign here. I'm holding up my X.
Well,
That depends on the dragon. That depends on the princess.
Hey. But am I out of order there? Do I think that the concept of the game is still there, but the heart of it is
Well, you can't
somewhat
reinvent
stretched.
saving the princess so many times. The way I see it is they're just adding new ideas out there. But I do understand that your concern is that they're focusing in maybe the wrong directions of what D&D needs.
So let me give you my 2 cents here. And Jack, I just sent you a picture on Discord to prove a point that multiple editions can touch each other and the world does not stop revolving upon its axis. How to put it? If you're playing 5th edition or 5.5 edition or 6th edition or whatever it is, and people are like, oh my gosh, they took out half elf, they took out this, they took out that. Those things have not ceased to exist. Okay, and one of the cool things about Dungeons and Dragons is it's kind of open architecture flexibility that says, hey, if half elf exists in 1st edition, but it's not managed to be printed in the new one, I can use it in the new one. There's no rule anywhere that says I can't do that, right? I mean, it's fine. So what it might be lacking, a DM can kind of make up for. And I had a post yesterday that Rob Kuntz was actually the first responded to. I said, look, and it's a lot of Twitter yelled at me for it, which is pretty normal. I said, look, D&D is, I thought, a game of infinite imagination and possibilities. And based on some of your tweets, I may have been wrong. Well, which made some people very angry, right? And Rob Kuntz was the first one to answer it. He's like, no, that's what we imagined when we came up with the whole thing was that, exactly that. It's sort of open. You can do whatever you want. As long as your table agrees, fine. And there were a bunch of people wanted to kind of argue that fact. My PhD's in physics. If you
I knew you'd see that.
Experimental physics, not theoretical. I wanted to be a theorist, and then I found out there were like 5 jobs in the known world, and I became experimental. You can use those older editions and kind of bring them back into the newer stuff. And the only reason I bought 2024 is, number one, because I can. And number 2, because my kids wanted to see the newer version. And I've got a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 15-year-old. They've got 5e. They had a new one coming out. They were excited about it. Let's bring it in. Let's keep them being excited and let them go off and learn how to play. So there's nothing wrong with it. And me buying it is not going to cause the world to cease to rotate upon its axis. It's fine. Yes, I even bought the 50th anniversary book, and I read it cover to cover. And one of the reasons I actually kind of was interested to read the new edition was after hearing about the 50th anniversary book, and bear with me before anybody throws things at me, there were people who heard about the introduction and the prologue, which had some stuff in it that I don't know how it got out the front door, and I would have never, ever done it, okay, because there were some really atrocious things written in there. After that, it had 600 pages of no politics, no agenda-driven anything, actual history, some pretty cool stuff, some things you don't see anywhere else. Okay, so it was these 4 pages up front. So it was less than 1% of the book. And after spending years in academia, if you find a book that less than 1% of it bugs you, you're doing pretty good, right? So I'm like, that's not bad.
I've taken an oath against buying anything that Ben Riggs produces.
Yeah, that's
fair. After one of his, I tend to agree with you. But anyway, so if you fast forward to the new release, everybody, the early comments on it on YouTube and Twitter where, oh my God, every page is going to be politics, agenda. And I read them cover to cover. And the player's handbook, I didn't throw in any of it. Outside of the artwork, we'll leave that part alone. And there were some art choices made that were.
You're going to leave the soul of the game alone. Okay, sure.
Right. No. We can argue the art, but that's a whole different stream. But the text of it, the verbiage written on the page didn't have any of the politics. And the reason I had a thing earlier this week about art was because I wanted to talk about some of this stuff. But now the Dungeon Master's Guide did have a little bit of, hey, here's how you deal with problematic players. Here's how you deal with the social interaction of the game. Now, the fun part to that was, I don't need that. Cerulean Rex doesn't need that. Bill doesn't need that. We've been playing forever. We know how to deal with those situations. That book is written for 13-year-olds of today, not of my age bracket, okay, who have dealt with COVID. They've dealt with lockdowns. They've been on social media their whole lives. The social interaction may not come as natural to them as it does to some of the older folks. So when you see that little chapter in there on here's a guidebook on how to deal with the social aspect of being at a table, maybe you can read into it a lot of stuff, but I looked at it like some of my 13-year-olds friends kind of needed some of that stuff. So is it necessary to put in there for me? I'm going to skip it and move on, right? Is it necessary for some of the younger players? Arguably, I see why they put it in there. I might not have made that choice, but I don't own Dungeons & Dragons. But I get the editorial choice. So anyway, that's my 52 cents worth on it.
Let's let Bill and Cerulean have at you then. Let's get them. Throw the rocks, gentlemen.
Oh, I'm not going to go that hard at Tim about. I mean, you can do what you want at your own table.
You can do what you want. Absolutely.
It's entirely
right. Who really insulted and denigrated everybody who did anything before 2014.
That in the 50th anniversary book and those prologue and the introduction, I absolutely agree with you. Some of the press releases, they were
stop right
idiots.
There. You can stop right there. That's the only thing that matters in that book. I'll buy the damn book when it's $5 on eBay. I'm not giving them a damn cent.
Not one more GP, gentlemen. Before we start arguing over culture war stuff, this is supposed to be a culture war free zone, and this is the problem with the new. This is the problem with the. I'm not the problem with the new stuff, is that it's so infused with today, by which I think everyone will understand.
Yeah, I'm not engaging in culture conf, but I am gonna. I'm not even going to address that book because, I've told Tim this before, and I honestly, hand to God, I try to avoid alpha nerding in any situation, but there's just sometimes when, you gotta put your cards on the table. I know the people who wrote OD&D and know they're not like that. So
my chat is lighting up for blood right now, but no, that's not why you're here.
But
yes, Theodore, you're right. The original Dungeon Master Guide did have a section on dealing with problematic players. It was not as detailed as the new one by any stretch of the
imagination. Was it drop rocks on them? Wasn't that the actual?
No, it was tell them to behave or tell them to go find another game. In a nutshell, is what it says. My hang up with modern D&D, and guys, just to be 100% clear, when I say modern D&D, I'm talking about from like 1992 forward. Okay. And I say that with a completely straight face. My hang up with modern D&D is that Gary was, I know it wasn't Gary, don't at me with this. Gary was selling a game to people who he thought were also reading Howard and Lieber and L. Sprague de Camp and Tolkien and Lovecraft and John Bellairs and Lord Dunsany and on and Burroughs and everybody like that. And that the zeitgeist of players was formed by the love of the fantastical, and the problem that we've entered Appendix N. The problem that we've entered into with D&D, and I think it has intensified because rather than it just never being that seriously addressed, it has very much intensified with actually early 5e. I think kind of backed away from it. I think 4e turned up this problem I'm about to tell you about in just a second to 11, and then they sort of cranked it back when Mike Merles came out and apologized to everybody in 2014, and they started re-releasing the PDFs, and we got the apology edition of 1e and so on and etc. The problem since then, I would say probably starting around 2020, is that the zeitgeist of D&D has shifted entirely to be self-referential. D&D is no longer informed by classic fantasy. D&D is informed by D&D.
I'll agree with that.
You don't get classic sword and sorcery touches anymore. You're not playing an elf because you thought Glorfindel was cool. You're playing an elf because elf is a thing that you do in D&D. It's gotten just to the point where the classical fantasy tropes, and it's not a generational thing, I don't think. I mean, there are probably plenty of young people who pick up a copy of Lord of the Rings, or heck, maybe even some of them, because the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser books are coming back out in print soon.
Again, this book series comes up, and this is sort of, I was just talking before that you three chaps joined, is several times over the last week and a half, this book series has been brought up to me. Twice on this show now. I'm going to have to read them.
Yeah, you need to read it. But there's probably a few younger fans of fantasy getting into those books, but by and large, D&D is just kind of an Ouroboros. It's biting its own tail, and because of that, it's become stagnant. I mean, what happens to a pond that has no springs flowing into it? It's a stagnant pond, or a lake, or even an entire bay. And when it becomes stagnant, it begins to dry up. You get a whole bunch of hydrological problems and environmental problems around that.
And there's glitter in the mud.
And there's glitter in the mud. And I think that is what has become of D&D, is that they're certainly interested in churning players, but I don't think they're giving enough from classic fantasy anymore.
Allow me to jump in here. There's a chap in chat. It's Amazing Gaming Productions. I realize he doesn't like one of my co-hosts on Cognito very much, but I think what he has to say is quite poignant a lot of the time. He posts a lot about how the fantasy aspect has switched. He now calls it, for lack of a better term, sparkle fantasy, rather than sword and sorcery. You've got this sort of slice of life attitude to adventures now. I've just noticed that, Cerulean, your tagline is Wizard King. It's like the War of the Wizards down there. I'm expecting both of you to start flinging spells at each other from your separate towers. Look, I will say this. I have warmed slightly to D&D 2024, and I suppose by that means I'm a degree above freezing now. And that is because some of the artwork that has come out has impressed me. Not so much the early stuff that we got, but the silver dragon whelp that they did was gorgeous. Some of the art is really nice. Some of the dragon art is really bad. But let me ask you this, because Cerulean, you mentioned the soul of the hobby, which is what I brought up, right? And which I think links us three on the top row to you three on the bottom row in terms of age and edition, is that soul, and that is, I want to pick up a sword, and I want to save the princess, or in this case, the dragon, and I want to I want to be a hero. I want to earn my keep through dungeons, slay monsters, and the rest of it. That I want to be Elric. I want to be Glorfindel, as Dungeon Delver said. I want to be Aragorn. I want to be this character. So tell me, is the soul of that bit, is that still existing with us three, who mainly play a really broken and bloody 5th edition that we have beaten into a shape that we like?
I played 5th or 6th years.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise. It's a good system. I like Merle's work on it.
Yeah, I've said before myself, the bones of 5e are a fine fantasy role-playing game. It's not my favorite D&D, but I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn you up slightly, Cerulean.
Sure.
Hopefully that's a little better.
Is this okay?
Yeah, go for
I can
it.
also turn up the gain. Okay. All right. For me, the soul of the game is actually the art. I've maintained that for a long time now. I run a Facebook and X group called the Knights of Brush and Palette. Look it up if you haven't. We put up artwork that we like to keep it traditional, although new stuff does come up all the time, although we're not accepting any AI. But I've talked about that a lot, the art being the soul of the game. And with the understanding that art inspires, and the inspiration is tied inextricably with what you just said, that you want to pick up a sword and rescue the princess from the dragon, right?
Sorry, Brass.
So is it gone? I think I have an understanding that some of the art in the book, the new books, actually isn't.
There is a really gorgeous in the Player's Handbook of 2024. There is a really gorgeous piece of Dragonlance artwork, which looks like it could have been done. It's modern art, so it looks digital, but it looks like it could have been done in 2000 or 1995 or back in the 80s. There it is. Tim's got it right there. Really gorgeous piece of that. To me, is the game. I don't like the way Red Dragons look. If Brass, can you find me that artwork and link it to me, and I'll put it on screen?
I'll give you this.
Or the Dragonlance one.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say after going through this book cover to cover that it missed a beat for me was, other than that Dragonlance image, none of the characters seemed to be in danger. They weren't struggling. They were all winning or partying. And that was a little bit different in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and obviously the Monster Manual is not out yet, so I can't pass judgment on it. But the miss for me was that there was no struggle, and that was a severe miss.
We're all in a game where we've used our words to the point that there's no conflict. That's visually what you're getting.
Someone said earlier on that there are fights you don't need to fight, but as much as I like fights you can talk your way out of with a bit of skill and wit, there is also fights that do need to be fought. And I do believe that there are definitely battles that need to be done. There is no modern Dungeons and Dragons art, and I mean this sincerely, that hits as hard as the Paladin in Hell from first edition AD&D.
That's Trampier, if I'm not mistaken?
No, that is Sutherland.
Yeah.
That is
Sutherland. Okay.
David C. Sutherland. Paul Stormberg actually owns the original art.
Yeah, I mean,
Paul got that. Nice.
That's amazing. That's one of the ones that I remember from playing early on. I mean, that's classic stuff.
This is what I would find inspiring. I know that Brass Dragon would find this in particular to be excellent stuff. It just the holy warrior fighting his way out.
I do
of
like
hell.
that. Good.
Paul also owns the oil painting cover of the Dungeon Master's Guide. Lucky bastard, I tell you.
So I need
what.
to go write him really big. No, I'm just kidding.
So I have the Dragonlance the Dragonlance artwork now. Thank you very much for that, Chris. That was very, very helpful of you. Your check's in the mail.
If I might just wrap up one quick thing on what I was saying.
Sure.
About the art being the soul of the game. I say that because art inspires. And what I mean when I say that is the actual root of that word. Inspire. Spiration, breathing. It puts breath into your lungs.
I love it when theology comes up.
And that, you know, I don't want to see a predominance of the game being the
comfy,
heroic.
cozy.
No, that's not exactly what I'm going for. It relates, but there's not going to be any really great tales told.
Yeah, you don't want to hear someone's story
talk
about
your
like
way out of.
Yeah, you want to hear how they got to the brink. You know how they went against the odds, but you're not going to hear about that when it's just like, yeah, I went to the supermarket, you know, and they didn't have the bread I wanted.
Or they want to hear about how, oh yeah, I touched a gem and my character died.
Yeah, that would have been way less interesting if you talked your way out of that.
Yeah.
I had seen this piece before, by the way.
It's a wyvern, not a dragon.
Yeah, it's got the stinger and all that.
I apologize.
They're all
for
the
being
same.
wrong.
We just call them dragons.
The trouble with that one, though, is even though it does look like a struggle, none of the characters to me appear to be nervous, afraid, scared.
It's a heroic piece.
Whereas if you look at the front of some of the Dragonlance modules, and I've probably got an image of it I can share, the characters there, you know, there's more soul in them. There's more there's more fear in them than you would
what they're
in
feeling.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find the right one here that I can share. Because there's a couple of them that are just, you know, I'm convinced need to be. I'm going to pull an Indiana Jones. Need to be in a museum. Because you know, everybody's got to pull their Indiana Jones out once in a while, right?
That's what she said.
It's a family-friendly stream.
I was waiting for that.
Indiana Jones is a family-friendly film.
You know, I always wondered why my mother used to make my father take her to those movies, and then later I figured it out. But this one right here, I don't know if you can throw that on the screen for people. I think you can from your side. Yeah. So that to me, you know, Gold Moon doesn't look like she's happy. He looks like he's going to shoot that arrow and run. He's like, do it fast, man. I'm going to die. And I don't get that same. I don't get the same feeling from the new Dragonlance one. I get the feeling like, okay, another dragon, let's go, right? It doesn't have that same angst, I guess, if I can get away with using that word.
What you're looking at there is the thing you're looking at there is someone who actually has skin in the game. So you know, this is written by Tracy Hickman, yeah. So it's someone who's created a thing they are passionate about. All of the early art, and I realise that the Brass Dragon doesn't like the early art, so to speak. It's not. I don't think it's technical enough for him. All of the early art is done by people with burning passion for what they're doing. Like everyone there, it has skin. They want it to succeed. They read Appendix N, which I'm now working my way through. They've done all of this gameplay with the guys at TSR. It's a very small, close-knit thing, and that means they are more closely connected to the product. Oh, look, we're getting into marks. Oh, great. But now you have, say, a room of, you know, lots of different artists, all of whom are very talented, quite obviously, but are somewhat separated from the fantastical that Delver was talking about, because now it's self-referential. I mean, if you look at art from Richard Witters was in earlier on, he did a lot of the art for 5th edition, and I maintain that a lot of the art in 5th edition is really quite excellent. But there has been a shift somewhere between 2014 and 2024 where the art just feels more corporate. It feels
I was
colder.
mentioned this before when talking about Tyranny of Dragons, because that was the first 5e module came out. You look at the artwork in that book, and it looks like something from 3.5 or some of the older editions. And then you look at Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, which was more recent. There is a big difference.
It's more washed out.
It's commissioned art.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Well, the way things work with artists is that they'll work on something, they'll get recognition, people like what they do, then they charge more, and that costs money. So then they'll go for a newer person who's not as experienced, and then that's how you get stuff like this. And in the Marvel films with the CG suddenly gets really bad because they're getting a new group of people in instead of sticking with the talented and experienced lot.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that cycles.
You would think, though, that there wouldn't be a steady decline where you never, I won't say never, but you hardly ever see, you're not seeing now anything like what you used to see. And, where's the new talent that you're talking about?
Well, yeah, you're not wrong, but what you're seeing is homogenization.
It is.
So
it's art directed. It's not all these artists.
I call it
it's
Tumblr art. It's Tumblr art. You Max.
I've heard of Tumblr. Never gone on it.
It's just your mouse pad is very loud.
That's not me.
Not
I
you?
think it was me. Sorry about that.
Timothy. You're banned.
I want a formal apology right now.
I apologize formally. Right. So, thank you, my love. I've just had the tea fairy bring me some books. She is now also a book fairy.
So Aaron brings up a good point in the chat.
One second.
A lot of older art, the stuff that Trampier and others did, was oil paintings that were then transferred onto the front cover of a book, right? And now a lot of this stuff is layers of digital art. So the method of doing this art is different. And part of it is, as you were saying, cost driven. So let me put I've been in the startup world for a long time hat on for a second. If you look at the cost of putting together Dungeon Master Guide 1, which had front cover of this
the red demon with the gem eyes.
That guy right there, right? That book.
Yeah.
The front. You got an oil painting on the front. You got an oil painting on the back, and inside are pencil drawings all over, right? So you've got, and today you've got full color throughout the book, right? So you're not doing oil paintings for every page, right? Because it's just too production heavy. So you're going to be losing some of that because you're dealing with digital art that's modified versions of something else that's digital layer after digital layer after digital layer to keep costs down. Otherwise, the new book's going to cost $800 and nobody's going to buy it if they put it out at all. So you're going to see these shifts, but the technology has shifted and the way artists work has shifted because almost nobody works oil on canvas anymore. Whereas a lot of those early TSR guys, that was their medium. And even Braun and others, that's kind of what they did. Larry Elmore, you go through Dave Trampier, you go through the list, and they were all oil on canvas geniuses. And you don't find too much of that now. Now it's digital layers, so it's a much different medium, and you get a much different result. Which, better or worse, is what it is.
I want to defend 4th edition for a moment, and we're going to go for another 10-15 or so before we.
I'm going to have to go, guys. I'll talk to you later.
4th edition. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries, man.
I'm already missing you.
4th edition is a game that is definitely what I would call not Dungeons and Dragons very much, maybe, but
it's the Pokemon version.
The artwork of 4th edition, really nice. It has that 3.5, I think Vast Dragon was saying earlier on, kind of look to it. I know that there are some Anne Stokes in this book as well, and Anne Stokes is something of a favorite artist of mine. But you get, like, to me, if I can find a good example, something like this, for example, might be more what you were thinking about in terms of action poses, in terms of being afraid.
That's
Look at the Eladrin. Look at the Eladrin on the floor there, being absolutely terrified. There is some really nice artwork throughout 4th edition. And my wife was also very kind to bring me over my 3.5 books, which was my first edition. And you actually still have, and I think this is something we lost in terms of going forward, you actually still have in here the pencil drawings. Now, I'm a massive fan of black and white grayscale pencil drawings just dotted around the place. It makes it feel like someone's kind of sketched in the margins, and I really, really
I'd like to
enjoy
make a comment
the way
about that.
presents it. Yeah, go for it.
It leaves room for the imagination.
That's it. That's where I was going. Because the reason that we look at these things and they inspire, they breathe an idea into us, much as the Lord God inspires his word, the reason we all come out with a different idea from it is because we all imagine the scenario slightly differently, because the medium doesn't give you everything. It's the same thing with battle maps that we talked about last week. Battle maps, and it was the week before on one of the impromptu streams, battle maps change the way you look at the game, because as my co-host on Cognito, Kyle, says, once you put a map down and it's a tactical square map, all of a sudden you're not thinking, I'm going through a dark, dingy dungeon. You're looking down on it and you're looking for cover. You're looking for treasure chests. You're looking for where the enemies are positioned. Can I flank this way? What's the most optimal damage I can do from here?
All right.
You need to have a medium which inspires, which, you know, the word I'm going to latch on to, a sense of I am actually there. I am actually Glorfindel. I am actually Elric. And I think that we have lost this because instead of wanting to experience going into the dungeon, stopping the ritual, and getting the treasure, the new books seem to want to relive a school slice of life anime.
All right, I have got to slide out of here, guys. But
thanks for coming in, man. I really
thank you for
appreciate
inviting me in. It was great to talk to you all, and hopefully next time I'll have a little bit more time. Peace.
All right, well, every Wednesday.
See you around,
Cheers,
Rick.
bye, mate.
So I'd like to make a little comment right on,
Yeah, go
on
for
what we talked about. So, in my uneducated young man opinion, having been playing D&D 5 years, I think, in my, again, opinion, don't quote me on this, I think what has inspired the shift is anime, video games, and Marvel. And the reason why this is in a video game, let's say you're playing even classic World of Warcraft. I love classic World of Warcraft. I think it's some of the best like fantasy out there. But in that game, you fight a gnoll, you bash its head in, there's not really much gore, you haven't really struggled, you cast a heal, you eat some bread, and you're fine. You just carry on. You're not injured, you're not limping, you haven't lost limbs. Even when you die, you just run back to your corpse, you get back up. Anime and Marvel, I think, have the same problem, where it is superhero fantasy. And I sent this image to Jack just a minute ago. I can't remember exactly the origins of this image. I remember seeing it on Twitter a while ago. I think it's relatively new. But
it's within the last year.
I remember, like a lot of people were talking about, like, retweeting this, and Ben Rogue Caliber, he made a Hero Forge model based on it. Like, this is what an adventurer would look like after fighting a dragon. Right? Their third degree burns all down them, the ears missing,
like Montolio from The Legend of Drizzt.
Exhausted.
Yeah, exhausted, bad. And like I in my games, we play 5th edition. I quite often try to get across after a long fight, even like a long fight, you know, out of game, like one that's taken 3 hours or something. I say, look, your characters are fucked, right? You are like, you're on 1 HP, you are limping, you've got broken bones, like you're missing fingers, you're bleeding out. But most people, because my game is very modern gamer, they don't get that feeling. They don't role play that up. And I think, again, like, it comes across in the art. I love the art for, like, the new 2024, or 2025, should I say, Monster Manual. It's one of the reasons I'm going to buy it. Because I think when it comes to dragons, you do a picture of a dragon, and I think the heroic fantasy, when it's just the dragon flying over some hills, works great. Love, like, the modern art for some of the new dragons, I love it. But as we said with that Dragonlance image there, it looks cool, it looks flashy, but who's winning that fight? We don't know. Like, are they just going in there? Oh, it's just another wyvern. Let's kill it. Or is the wyvern ambushed them and they're like, oh god, what do we do? Nah, it's just sort of a it's a still frame, isn't it? Like,
Someone in chat did say there was no motion to it.
Who is that wyvern pointed at?
It's posing for the shot. Don't you understand? There's a camera guy in the back.
Like, I like the look of the wyvern. It's that's what I mean. Like, that style fits dragons and epic beasts really well. But yeah, you are right. Who is it? Who is it biting?
And that's the composition. That is the decisions that the artist needs to make to give the entire message, to lead the viewer's eye through number 1, number 2, number 3 visual hierarchy, and give the true story of what's going on there. It's not just a collection of disparate elements. And when you don't see, I mean, the wyvern, I'm going to say this, Raceland and Caramon, they look like they're flat on the same plane, and the wyvern looks like it's already almost moving past them. That I don't have a good sense of space. The spatial relationships that would be at work there. And that's not a failing of digital art. I know plenty of digital artists who can pull that off. And I'm not saying that's a bad painting. I've made plenty of art myself where I've gone, oh, that was a bad decision. It's not
it doesn't hit for you. It's not
No,
hitting the nail. There are glaring issues. There's obviously there's a glaring issue that you sort of latched onto, and it is kind of interrupting your enjoyment of the art, because now you've got something in the back of your head that's making you think about this rather than just shit. That's cool.
Kind of.
So,
now that I've told you, it'll bug you too.
No, it already did in a sense. I just thought it was a better example than most of, say, the dwarf baking in the forge, which is a terrible composition.
Yeah,
but
it is.
I want to bring attention to what Driving and Dragons Daniel has said here, so that he can put me on his top 10 list next time. I was going to blame anime when you were talking about books. We went from players informed by works of imagination and literature to fantasy informed by over-the-top animated comic books. I partially agree, because there is a lot of really gritty, dark, but like Berserk is one of them. If you've ever read any Berserk or ever watched anything from Berserk, the stylized stuff of that, of just
that's old school though. I think it's
school.
more of it's a modern, because Berserk is a great example.
But,
Dark Souls was inspired by all that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm talking about. I know this will upset Elven Maiden. Rerun.
Yeah.
Dungeon
I was going to ask, do you think that could be part of the problem that in modern artists, because I go to a lot of art museums and I spend a lot of time with artists, just because as a scientist, I always like to try to exercise the creative part of my brain, because I think it makes me a better scientist, which is why I have to go in a bit, because I play piano and I have a piano thing on Wednesdays. But do you think some of the modern artists are being too careful so they don't alienate people? They want to be cautious in what they produce to try to have the most appeal possible. So let's not make anybody mad.
It's the H word that I used earlier on, homogenization.
Yeah.
Because rather than craft, if we use a culinary example, rather than craft an excellent dish of you have the meat, the potatoes, the vegetable, and then maybe a sauce or something that brings and locks all these disparate flavors together in one presentable thing, instead you've got the slop. Here's your gruel. Right. Here's everything in one mixed together, so everyone has something to like. You can't quite taste the individual things. It's all at once.
So here's one of my favorite artists of all time, right? And it's a terrible copy, but it's the closest one I have. That's actually my copy of the book. Frank Frazetta. It's if I had to go pick a favorite fantasy artist out of the pile of fantasy artists available, it's either going to be Frank Frazetta or Boris Vallejo. It's one of those two guys.
I would agree. I'd agree.
But Frank, I don't think he cared if you liked him or not. He was going to produce art that he liked. If he pissed you off, that's fine. He's going to produce what he wants to produce. And I don't see that same kind of behavior from artists today. I don't see a lot, and maybe I'm not talking the right ones. It's entirely possible. But I don't see a lot of risk-taking. I don't see a lot of originality. I see a lot of, hey, I can do that too. Well, okay, let's go original. Let's do something a little bit different. But you have to kind of follow the money and where the money is. But you know, Frank, I don't think would have cared. I think his week would have been the same whether or not he was getting paid.
Yeah.
And his I think it's his Egyptian princess painting is worth millions because of
his
that.
daughter has a very active, or granddaughter or daughter.
Yeah, I follow her. She's got a German Shepherd that every time she posts about, I have to double take because it's a duplicate of my dad's German Shepherd.
So she was doing a thing on YouTube. I was watching one of her videos. She's like, if my dad knew some of his paintings were selling for $1.5 million now, I'm not sure how he'd react. Right? So it's,
look,
and they are. They're going for $1 million and a half bucks.
Chaps, look, we've been going for just over 2 hours. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to bring this in because we went for 3 hours last time and I was knackered by the end of it and had to get up for work the next day. We had a very active chat again. I really appreciate it, guys. Really do. Please do like, share, and give me a sub. It helps me grow a lot. I am desperately trying to make my way to that 1,000 subscribers as much as possible. I know that I have been asked by people if I would start a book club based on Appendix N and some other bits and pieces that I've been doing. I am very tempted to do so, but if I'm going to run it, I'm going to need some monetary gain from it. Because I'm already doing too much, damn it. So I might start that up on my Patreon, or I might do a subscribe thing through X. But we'll see what people want out of it. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to go from Timothy upwards, and we'll do like a round-robin close-off. Go for it, man.
Teddy, I will, to answer the thing in chat, Teddy, I will link to her on my X account. If you follow me, you'll find it. Cerulean Rex, great to meet you, man. I know I've seen your posts off and on. Love to have you on my channel so we can talk about art more in depth. Because
I would love that.
I actually do personally own 4 original Salvador Dalis and an original Walt Disney, so I'm not just like I like art. No, I've spent like legit money on decorating my house with real art. I'd be happy. Sarah Frazetta is the name, by the way. So if you search Sarah Frazetta over on X or YouTube, it'll pop up. But I'd love to talk to you some more and maybe have you on my channel. If you got one, I'd be happy to come on yours. This is sort of, I'm semi-retired. This is what I do now. So
there's not a day I don't see you pop up on stream. Like, man, I'm working. Otherwise, I would come in. So really,
no, I'm happy to be around. Thank you for having me on. And
it's always a pleasure, mate.
Always a pleasure. I love talking about
Tim,
this.
if you're not already in Knights of Brush and Palette, I would join. We have some great discussions about pieces.
I was going to say, could you link me to that as well? I'd love that.
Is that over on Facebook or something?
It's Facebook and X, and it's the same name on both. KNIGHTS, Knights of Brush and Palette.
Knights of Brush. Is it Knights of Brush is the handle?
Knights of, I don't think the handle thing works quite right with that group in X.
I'll tell you what, shoot me a DM on it, and
Sure.
I will be happy to not only follow it, but I will blast it out on my channel, and I've got like 12,000 plus followers now or something. So
awesome.
Happy to broadcast
Awesome. So, my bit. First, Tim, of course, do know that anything that I was saying there earlier, don't take that personally. That's just.
I was in the Army.
He's had worse.
I was in the Army.
Okay.
You got to work harder than that to get under my skin. It doesn't matter.
I wasn't trying. So, the great
Gen X, man.
actually conversation today. This was very good. Jack, thank you very much. Max, nice to meet you, and Brass Dragon, you as well.
No worries.
No, you're always welcome, Cerulean. Always welcome. The beard's welcome. You don't have to come. Max, you were here just so we could laugh at Slizglag dying, but do you have anything you want to say that might be a bit more poignant?
1, he got murdered. 2, I am knackered. And 3, I don't think I can hear another book title drop today.
We're going to get you reading, man.
Dragons of Winter Night, Dragons of Spring Dawning, Dragons...
In fact, speaking of books, I have just finished reading Dragons of Autumn Twilight. I have dropped a review on my channel. You guys should go and share that around. That'd be really helpful. Margaret Weiss actually shared it.
She does that,
which was great.
She's very...
I'm going to, when I finish Chronicles, I think I'm going to approach her and say, "Hey, would you like to come do an interview? That'd be cool." But Max is tired, so we'll carry on with the Brass Dragon. You've been here since the beginning.
I have. I haven't got a lot to share. I'm the least interesting person I know. But I have actually just finished writing a little article for the Lost Law Library, which Jack still has to review and publish because I don't know if it's acceptable yet. Maybe it offends him. I don't know. But yeah, I plan on doing a bit more than that. So if you see a lot of random bullshit on the Lost Law Library, it's probably me, not Jack, doing it. Because I'm better at writing content, I actually get things done.
Yes, he does. Was because I work more than him. Look, so it's thelostlawlibrary.com, and yes, there is a lot of stuff coming from the Brass Dragon on there. So do go and follow him over on X, and also I'll be sharing his stuff out.
Like and subscribe.
Like you did the hand.
Oh,
was that a stop card?
No, it was I just raising my hand so I could speak in class.
There you go. Go for
it. One little thing I forgot around that channel. Every once in a while, I will do a deep dive on a particular piece of art. I've got one of those coming up that's special. I've got a piece of art that it's a Keith Parkinson, and I think I discovered something about it. I don't think anybody knows.
Ooh.
I may be wrong about that, but
you heard it here first, folks.
Watch for that. I'm probably going to drop a video to
when
YouTube
you do,
on that
DM
one.
it to me, and I'll throw it out as well.
I will. I've got an agreement from Larry Elmore, I believe, to talk with me about it, and maybe possibly. Well, I won't say any other names because I don't have confirmed.
That's cool. That's cool. Guys, keep an eye on that.
Dano's going to be upset about that one.
Before we continue, I'm quickly going to bring in the wife, for she has a demand of all of you. She's muted.
Hello, people. Like and subscribe, share the stream, tell your friends. That's pretty much it. Have a good night.
I'm gonna put you back down there.
I just thought I'm going to dislike. I'm going to unsubscribe.
Oh, bugger off.
I was going to say she wasn't asking; she was demanding.
Yeah, I was demanding.
I've already done that, but I will have to say that Liverpool's the best football team ever. Oh, I'm just.
Man, it's Go Sports. You're talking to like loads of nerds with sports.
It goes right over my head. What's a Liverpool? I've never heard of it.
Look, gentlemen, I do appreciate you coming. Everyone in chat, it has been lovely to see you, having these names that I see week in, week out on my videos, and some extra ones in there as well. I do appreciate it greatly, and perhaps we will look more into a reading club for the Lost Law Library. For now, I have been Jack, Chronicler of the Northlands. I've been joined by some excellent people today. Go and make sure that after this you go into the description after I've updated it with all their links. Go give them a follow, etc., etc. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Have a nice night.